Well, I'm joined now by Maurice McLeod, who's a social commentator and local councillor for Wandsworth. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I think that the whole anti-woke agenda, I think I'm right in saying that originated in the US. And you can see that by the language that people define themselves as anti-woke. The language that they use very often pertains to examples that came from the US. I mean, do you think that the pushback against diversity, equality and inclusion originated in the United States is my first question to you.
Hello, Natasha. I wouldn't say it originated in the United States, because I think as long as anyone's been trying to make arguments for things like diversity and inclusion, there's been pushback, and that pushback comes from comes wherever. So when Britain has been making strides, there are pushes back against that. The National Front and things like that came as part of they're coming in, they're changing things. So that's not new. What, as you just said, is new is total use, not just use of social media, because social media's been around, obviously, but the guy that actually owns the platform, the guy that actually runs, Twitter or X or what you want to call it, is also the one who's pushing out, a lot of these untruths and stuff. That's what is really different, and it is a challenge. It's a challenge because if you ignore it, then it grows and festers. If you argue against it, then you shine a light on it and then probably give more attention to the lies. It's a tough thing for us to work out how to deal with.
It is a tough thing to work out how to deal with, because on the one hand, you have Keir Starmer standing up to JD Vance in the Oval Office when JD Vance said we don't have free speech here in the UK, which of course we do, him pushing back and saying we do, and that's something I'm very proud of. On the other hand, you have this speculation that this case about the abortion buffer zones in Bournemouth was going to impact the trade negotiations with the US at one point. That's so bizarre to me that we could be in a situation where, the economic health of the country hinges on these weird cases that are being picked up online and amplified by bots and trolls most of the time. I mean, how do we respond to that?
Again, it's super hard, isn't it? It's like the world's being bullied by some bully in the canteen. He's sort of demanding all these crazy things, and if you remember, even Nigel Farage fell out with Musk because he wasn't supporting Tommy Robinson enough. So there's so much pressure from these guys to get the things that they want, and let's be honest, if you're running America, you have a lot of power, you have a lot of say in what the world does. We still need to stand up to that. We need to, we can't capitulate. We can't sort of just accept this worldview, because it's damaging. It's damaging to so many people, not just people of colour. It's damaging to women. It's damaging to the LGBTQ community. It's damaging to us as a society. So we do need to resist, but that resistance is going to be difficult.
There's an interesting tension, I think, because if you look at people who still think that Brexit was a good idea because sovereignty, and people who are probably a fan of Donald Trump, that Venn diagram is pretty close to a circle, I would argue. And yet those people who claim to love sovereignty seem quite okay with our political direction of travel and our talking points being dictated by people overseas. I mean, is there any way that we can kind of win them over and go, no, however we conduct ourselves in Britain, we should be deciding that?
Yeah, I think there is a way of doing it. I don't think it's easy. The bottom line is, I think this shows that people were never really desperate for sovereignty or desperate for a particular, for us to be able to tell our own story. They wanted something that backs up what they believe. So they're quite happy to accept control from Musk or Trump if it supports the things they already think. So if you're sort of sitting there thinking you don't really like your neighbour who's a different colour, or you don't really like that there's Muslims in the country or whatever, and there's someone across the sea saying the same thing, your response isn't, oh, you shouldn't be interfering. It's, well, yeah, even over there they can see it. And then I feel like we're reciprocal. We're kind of feeding each other a little bit across the water in those ways.
You're an anti-racism campaigner. I was reading an interesting piece by Yasmin Alabai-Brown in The Eye earlier, where she was saying that the kind of anti-woke rhetoric of Donald Trump is infecting us. That was the word that she used, infecting us here in the UK. How concerned are you that we're going to have even more of a fight on our hands because of the impact of the US?
Yeah, this is she's so right. This is absolutely infected. So like I say, I work in anti-racism. I work running organisations that do this work, and you can really tell how the mood of the country, the mood of the government of the country is going by how much funding is available and where you're being pointed towards. And at the moment, there is a move away from all the diversity and inclusion stuff that we've kind of fought so hard to get the country to accept as important. There is a step back. There are, some companies are sort of going, well, look what's happening in America. Maybe we'll water this down. And it won't take long, I'm afraid, before that sort of seeps in, especially with, reform chucking away on the sides, going, yeah, look what's happening in America. I just hope we stay to our course. I hope we stick to the things that we know. We know we work better as a society altogether. We know that when everyone can thrive, we all thrive. So we know these things, but there will be messages, and there'll be strong messages coming from across the seas that this isn't the way forward. And then there'll be those that never wanted to get on board with diversity will be all too happy to grasp these messages.
Maurice McLeod, thank you so much, social commentator and local councillor for Wandsworth there. And he's really hit upon the nub of what I'm trying to ask you this hour, which is how do we stop ourselves being infected by the US culture wars, the populism of the US, and to have kind of sensible, nuanced conversations in an arena which is so reductive a lot of the time, not least of all because it's driven by what's happening on Twitter. What should our response be to that?